What's up, everybody? This is Damron with Trash Ass Gamers, bringing you another Elder Scrolls Online Veteran Dungeon Guide. This is for Falkreath Hold, which is part of the Horns of the Reach DLC in Elder Scrolls Online. This is a pretty difficult dungeon. It has, most of the bosses aren't too bad, but the last boss of Domihaus really gives a lot of people some trouble. So we're basically mainly going to be focusing on the boss mechanics as always. I will keep these dungeon playthroughs as complete playthroughs so you know exactly where I am and how I got there, but we may fast forward through some of the ads. So Falkreath is found in Craglorn, which is obviously one of the group areas of Tamriel. And like I said, we'll fast forward through most of the ads and focus on some of the boss fights and the mechanics to help you guys that may be struggling with this dungeon. Now I'm getting close to having all the veteran dungeons complete, but if there's still a particular dungeon that you're waiting on, don't worry, I will be doing guides for all the veteran dungeons, and then we'll move on to the arenas and some of the trials. So let's get moving, and we'll meet you at the first boss. Alright, so our first boss up here is Morrigh Bullblood. Now Morrigh will have a Dreadhorn with her, so you definitely want to take out that wall breaker first. Don't worry about focusing on the ball until you take down this Dreadhorde Minotaur enemy, because he can really cause you problems and do some pretty heavy attacks. So go ahead and take him out, and then we'll focus on the boss. And there's a few boss mechanics that you kind of need to be aware of. One is that he'll kind of raise his arm into the sky and create this little shield around him, and he'll knock all your players back, and you need to break free of that as soon as possible and get back into his shielded area, because what he's doing is essentially calling artillery strikes to your area, and you can see all those AoEs around. Now those AoEs aren't going to one-shot you, but you certainly want to avoid that damage if you can. He'll also just put a general AoE on the ground, which is essentially another artillery strike, so you just want to move out of that. And then he also do a small conical attack in front of him, so as long as tank's holding aggro and you stay on the backside, then you're not going to have to worry about that. So he's a pretty easy boss, so we're going to wipe him up. As you can see, he doesn't really cause you too much problems. And then actually we're going to walk down the hill here to this gate, and the next boss is right here, the Siege Mammoth, and he's also pretty easy. So the first few bosses in this dungeon certainly are relatively easy compared to the final boss. So let's get moving. There's two ways to do this, and I'll show you this way up here. A lot of people will just hold the Siege Mammoth, near the gate, and essentially the tank's going to hold him on one side and everybody else is going to stay to the back. And you don't really have to worry too much about his attacks. The only thing that you'll really need to pay attention to is the siege that are coming down. You have arrow guys, archers that are on top of the wall shooting arrows down, as well as these little flame attacks that hit the ground and turn into 3 moving AoEs that are flame damage. And those are kind of annoying, but don't cause too much damage. The only attack you really need to worry about with the Mammoth itself is when he rises up in the air, like you're going to see him do here. Boom. And you need to block that. That does a lot of damage and will likely kill you if you're not blocking. So make sure you block whenever he rises up into the air. He'll also do a sweeping attack with his tusks in front of him, but as long as the tanks hold him and you're staying on the backside, you're not going to have to worry about that. Now, I will just briefly show you up here near this tree stump. You can also hold him here, and if you hold him here, then you don't have to worry about the siege coming down and hitting you during the fight, because it doesn't reach that far. So let's get moving. We got a lot of bigger ads to bang through, and I'll meet you at the next boss. Alright, so next up is a boss that is kind of three little mini bosses that spawn the larger boss in the middle twice during the fight. And there's a really easy way to do this fight. So we're going to hold Tusil, which is a two-handed sword guy near the area I was shooting my arrow at. And then the rest are going to immediately go to Urbogar, who is the archer, and we need to take him out as soon as possible. He's probably the most dangerous. And then Mokveda is the mage, who will go to second. And when they die, you need to carry their souls to these glowing gold things. And Tusil can really cause a two-handed heavy attack that will kill you in one shot as your DPS. So what you want is your tank to just hold onto him near that bottom left kind of cleansing area, and that'll make more sense just in a minute. And also, you see this kind of mist floating around the Ener. Once you go inside, you cannot touch that, or it will instantly kill you. So Urbogar himself will shoot his arrow, obviously, and he'll also do a small AoE attack that is three little AoEs that move forward. And then when you kill them, they'll go down, and you need to step beside them to pick up their soul and run it to that golden area. Now I can't use that golden area for the rest of the two, so now we're going to move up to Mokveda and take this mage out. And as you can see, he does spawn this little AoE down on the ground. It has a symbol on it, and if you stand on that for not very long at all, actually, a hand will come up and kill you instantly, so be aware of that. And then Tusil, he's the main guy. He's really good to kind of get your resources back, and again, the tank's going to hold him right here, so we can instantly take his soul here. And what that's going to do is going to spawn Cernunnon, who is the actual boss. And there's a few mechanics that you need to know about him, and one is this right here. When he puts an AoE around each of you, basically you cannot block the damage from that. However, you can block and it won't knock you down, but you'll still take the damage. The thing about that attack is you do not want to overlap that AoE with anybody else from your team, because that will further enhance the damage you receive and could potentially kill you. And then also the ghosts that fly around the map, they have little AoEs beside them, and if you get in that AoE, you'll get feared and 2 skeleton adds will spawn. So you really want to avoid those ghosts at all costs, and you cannot kill them. So once you get him down to 50%, he will respawn Urbogar, Mokveda, and Tusil, the 3 enemies that we fought already. And we're going to take the same exact strategy. Everybody else is going to go immediately to the arrow archer, and we're going to clean him up ASAP, cleanse his soul. The tank's going to hold on to the two-handed guy. Now our team kind of got wiped up, but that's okay. You really have a lot of time to recover once you take down the archer. He's the most deadly. And then once you do that, then we can focus on taking out the mage, and we'll take his soul up to the north, and we'll go kill Tusil again. And I do want to mention that Tusil is the one that's actually spawning the AoE on the ground that can cause a hand to come up and kill you, not Mokveda, that I mistakenly just said a second ago. So that will instantly kill you, and you need to roll dodge out of that because that's a pretty quick death. So let's go ahead and cleanse this mage soul, and then we're going to walk down and we're going to finish up Tusil, who the tank's been holding on this whole time. very nicely for us. And again, do some heavy attacks, get your resources back, and he's not going to really cause you any problems, you know, just standing there whacking at the tank. And as soon as we cleanse him, this fight's basically over because we're going to be able to burn down Cernunnon pretty quickly into his execute phase, and he doesn't really have that much health. So as soon as you hit that execute phase of percent damage, you're going to be able to finish this fight relatively easily. So that's the strategy for this guy to make this fight super easy on Vet. So clean him up, and let's get moving on to the next one. Alright, so on to the Halls of the Dead, the next boss. This boss is very, very easy if you know the strategy to do this in a very simple way. So you're going to see these urns, there's 4 of them, in the back right, back left, front left, and front right. And they all have this synergy that you can activate. And when you activate that synergy, you'll have a light around you. And that light can be used to cleanse the dead souls, which have these orange light beaming up of them that you can see here. So you pick up the Purify blessing, and then you basically use your synergy on those souls to get rid of them, and you can use it infinitely until it runs out. It's based on a timer, and the reason is that every so often the boss will do a certain attack that will do damage to every player that's unavoidable, that is based on the number of uncleansed souls that are still on the ground. So what you want to do is you want to have 1 DPS assigned to the front left and 1 DPS assigned to the front right, and the healer can use the back pillars to pick up any random souls that spawn back there. And the tanks want to hold him right where we're at right here. And the reason is because this will generally make the kind of zombie characters that spawn be relatively close when we need to cleanse. And really, he doesn't have much health. You want to focus mainly on cleansing because that's what's going to kill you, and then do your damage to him in between cleansing. So make sure there's no souls on the ground that need to be cleansed, and you can then turn around when there are none and do your damage on the boss. So let's look at this in action, and this will make a little bit more sense to you. But this strategy is a very good strategy to get through this, especially when you're trying to do your no death run. This is a very safe method. He doesn't have much health, and some people will try to burn quickly, but this is really the safest way. So let's check it out. We're going to pull Deathlord Bjarfrud Skjoralmor up here and hold him right here. And what you're going to see is as these ads are coming around and dying from our AoEs and just our general attacks, then their souls become available. Now here's the AoE. As soon as that reach maximum, any souls that are on the ground are going to cause unavoidable damage. Now there weren't any souls on my side, which was good. But in the future you will see me cleanse some souls, which is just by using your synergy on their bodies that are lying on the ground. So you'll see that, and you'll see the rest of this fight is very, very easy using this method. And so let's get through him, and we will meet you at the next boss. And actually near the end there, I didn't realize that, but you saw what happens when you miss one. I didn't get to that very last one in time, but luckily that was the only soul that wasn't cleansed. But you saw because that AoE hit at maximum before I cleansed it, I took quite a bit of damage that in fact almost killed me. So if you have more than one soul uncleansed on Veteran, you likely will die and have to reset that fight. So pretty short dungeon actually. So now we're near the end. You can actually sneak past these last three Dreadhorns if you want to, or you can fight them. They're not that big of a problem. So let's go in here. Let's read our Warhorn, and we're gonna fight Domihaus. Now hard mode is pretty tough here. I'm not gonna lie. So you see all these pillars around the room, and hard mode is gonna destroy two of them. And the reason that's important because during the fight he will do a shout, and if you're not behind a pillar, you will instantly die. So we've reduced the number of pillars we have available, which means we all need to be behind the same pillar every shout. And after 80%, every 10% of his health, he will do either spawning ads or a shout, starting at 80. And 80 is going to be ads, and it will basically flip-flop between those two options. And he'll spawn a Storm Atronach, a Flame Atronach, an Air Atronach, and an Ice Atronach. And what we like to do is to stack all of them on the pillar that we're going to be going behind during his shout phase. And basically we're going to start to the left of the first broken one and go clockwise. You guys can do it however you like, but you need to make sure everyone's on the same page about being behind the same pillar, because in hard mode, if you accidentally blow up two pillars, the fight is likely done. So now let's talk about his inner phase and outer phase. His inner phase is basically when he creates this flame wall around the outer portion of the map, and you really can't be on the outside. And when he does that, he will also chain all of you in and basically create an attack. And here's the shout. So we're all behind this pillar. Boom. We've only blown up one pillar. So anyway, back to the interface. So he will essentially chain you in. As soon as he chains you in, hold block, and then just start walking backwards. And that is the best speed to avoid the attacks that he does, which creates these spikes that come out of the ground, and they do quite a bit of damage. In fact, if you get hit by more than one, you'll probably die. So that's the interface, and also on hard mode he will combine his ground and pound with the interface, and that's when he starts smashing the ground and shooting these lava out in all directions, and that's very hard to dodge during the interface. And he only does that in hard mode, combining those two. So if he does do that, the healer just needs to heal, 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 make sure everyone's keeping their health. So now outer phase. Outer phase, he's going to be having this basically lava, what you saw there, that encompasses the inner portion of the arena. And that's really the best place you can really get your resources back, because you can kind of hide behind a pillar and just kind of shoot some heavy attack arrows at him and get your resources back, because it's a pretty safe part of the fight. So again, shouting again, we're going to our next pillar, which apparently I did not make it to, even though I'm directly behind it. But again, the better thing to do there is, if even if you aren't going to make it, just die, because you can recover from the death. What you can't recover from is blowing up more than one pillar. So that's the general portion of the fight. So at 80 adds, 70 shout, 60 adds, 50 shout, 40 adds, 30 shout, and then we're going to get to 20 where things change. When he hits around 20% health, you're going to see he's going to get a shield, and that shield is going to make it very hard to finish this fight. And then the adds are going to start spawning in infinitely, not based on percentage, based on timer. And what we like to do is to go ahead and clean up the first set of ads as quickly as possible, burn him down. And what you want to do is essentially, once you get him to 10%, it's execute time. Stack the ads on the boss, let your AoEs hurt him if possible, but the main goal is to execute and kill Domihaus, because the ads are just going to keep coming and it's going to get harder and harder. It's all about speed and DPS in the last 10% of this fight. So you're going to see us do this, and I hope all those tips kind of helped you out. And also don't go to those next phases while people are down. The good thing about this fight is until you get to that 20%, you really have a lot of time to recover if someone dies, which you see here. You really can get people revived and take your time getting set up for the next phase, which again happens at every 10%. And then you do need to keep note that he will do a shout at 10% and 5%. You can skip the 5% shout if your execute is fast enough. Alright, so let's finish up this fight. I hope that's helpful, and we'll talk about the boss set at the end. So there you see them getting his shield, which happens around 20. Now I do want to point out that if you when he's about 27 and you wait until he just starts his interphase, and you go in there and you can burn him from 27 to about 18, you can actually skip him from getting his damage shield to make that a significantly easier portion. However, that's a little tough to do, and it's not a problem if he gets his shield. You can finish it off with the methods that I've told you. Alright, so definitely one of the tougher final bosses in the game. Domihaus, you guys are going to really feel good the first time you beat him on hard mode. Certainly a hard fight, but really once you get the mechanics down, you guys are going to get this no problem, and I certainly hope this helps. So the monster head is obviously the Domihaus set, which gives you extra stamina or magicka, and then when you deal damage, you have a 15% chance to create a ring of fire or molten earth for 10 seconds, which deals 1100 flame or basically 1100 physical damage every 1 second. And also, you get extra spell or weapon damage. It seems like a great set, but it just doesn't seem to proc enough. But you know, text wise, it sounds great. So I hope this helped you guys, and if it did, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.